Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan. I am John Clark. He's Mike Quick. He is Ike Reese. The Birds trying to go 5-0 for just the third time in franchise history. The last time they did it, Ike Reese was playing. What was so impressive about the Eagles going 4-0? They were actually down in the game 14-0. They were facing adversity really for the first time.
Yeah, and while the offense certainly got it going in the second quarter, the defense basically stifling Jacksonville's offense is what really allowed them to get back into this game, forcing 5 turnovers in that inclement weather, coming off a week where they got 9 sacks against Washington. The defense has really stepped up. And what have they given up? 13, 19 points over the last 3 games? When you're playing defense like this, you got a chance to win every game.
Well, in a 17-game schedule, you have to realize you have to win in a lot of different ways. Well, they showed that they could win coming from behind, being down 14 points, and it was really the run game that stood out to me all day long. The offensive line, they controlled the football, they controlled the line of scrimmage.
The Eagles once again have a Player of the Week, Hassan Reddick, the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And who's going to break it down here with a little tape study? Here is Fran Duffy with Jeremiah Washburn. This is presented by Chickies and Pete's.
Well, joining me this week here on Tape Study, presented by Chickies and Pete's, Eagles defensive end and outside linebackers coach Jeremiah Washburn. Coach, 9 sacks a couple weeks ago, 5 turnovers for the defense this past Sunday against Jacksonville. What's in the water here at the NovaCare Complex defensively? Got to be happy with what you've seen the last couple weeks.
Yeah, the guys are playing hard. You know, it has been a good amount of success the last 2 weeks, and you know, production comes in bunches, and it has been these last 2 weeks.
No doubt. Well, let's get into some of the big plays from the defensive front here against Jacksonville. We'll start first big turnover of the game, first of 5, and this is 4th down. Take us through what we're seeing from both Fletcher Cox and Hassan Reddick here on this play.
Sure. Well, they get the man side right here, which means they have the one-on-ones. Obviously, Grave and Sweaty are on the slide side, taking it for the team, and Sweaty has the chip. So this is kind of an old matchup right here for Fletch with Brandon Sheriff, so they know each other really well. This is a jab swipe for him where he's able to break down the outside hand of Sheriff and work the B-gap rush. You know, Haas is kind of known as a speed rusher, but he certainly showed some power here against Juwan Taylor. We knew that was going to be a tough matchup. So it was exciting to see this early in the game and set up some rushes later in the game for him.
So those guys off the left side, like you said, the man side of the protection, they're able to force the quarterback off their spot. And then I just love the urgency here from Fletcher, just kind of chasing this in pursuit. Yeah,
we call it a GPS. He kind of has a feel for where the quarterback is. He can see through the blocker to the ball, and he's always had that feel. And this went down for a team sack right here, but it was certainly caused in large part by the 2 rushes on the man side.
I feel like you said over the course of their career here, you know, when you look at Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, the guys have been in this room for 10 plus years. Everybody, every single week is playing with so much urgency, the motor out to the sideline. Is that something that they talk about, or is that just kind of ingrained at this point? All the young players have to adjust.
That's a great question. It is what they do here, and you inherit that here in Philadelphia, especially with the defensive front. And so these guys were like this before we got here, and I imagine they'll be like that after we leave.
And then obviously going to the run game aspect, to me, watching this group, especially on early downs, defend the run has been so fun. A little bit of a different look here than the last play, but take us through what made this play go against the run.
Yeah, I think, you know, starting off, I mean, and it's the group I coach, but they did a nice job of setting the edge right here. Haas does a great job with the puller, and Sweaty on the back side of that as well. And then kind of the hidden gem on this one is Marcus Epps, where he comes down from his safety spot right here and beats the receiver to the spot or the crack block, and takes the tight end. So it frees up TJ as well on this, and an excellent job by the 3D tackles as well. So Jim Caldwell used to say this, head coach in Detroit when I was there, was, you know, front side wins games and backside wins championships, and so those 2 guys on the backside did a great job of squeezing that.
We saw Jordan Davis making his first TFL of the season here in this game. What have you seen from the rookie first-round pick?
Yeah, he's working really hard with Coach Rocker, as are those, you know, all the young guys in that room. But He's been really diligent in the meeting room, and then before and after practice, the things you don't see. He's worked really hard with Coach Rock.
So we started this segment with the first turnover of the afternoon. Let's end it with the fifth one, and this one, a sack fumble here from Hassan Reddick. What made this play work as well as it did?
Well, he's a real studious rusher. You know, he studies his guy, and he has a feel within the game, and as do Sweaty, BG, and really this whole group. And so he just had a feeling on this one of what his first rush was going to be, and it was the first one on the 2-minute. So it was, again, it's a good group rush, and that's the blessing of having, D tackles that are so explosive like Hargrave and Fletch. Where Grave gets the center slide, he's double teamed. He beats the center slide right here, which is tremendous. So there's no step up right here for Trevor, who we respected as a quarterback that could get out of some jams. So, you see Sweaty taking on the chip right here, works through that, gets the guard slide, and then obviously Fletch with an aggressive rush with Scherf. So, I mean, it was a great individual rush by Haas and excited for him, but it was a great group rush as well.
Coach, I know you spent a lot of time around the AFC South, and I remember Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis, known for their speed, but those low side rushes, the spin moves, those speed to power rushes work so well. Is that something that Hassan kind of has in his favor, knowing, hey, I can win with speed, but the offensive tackles are worried about it as well, and I've got that as a change-up in my back pocket?
Yeah, it does. He is. He's fully aware of how people view him, and so hopefully he can use that for his advantage going forward.
And not deeper than the quarterback on this run. Is this something that you feel like guys can learn, or do you feel like that's just kind of an ingrained quality, his ability to just kind of take a swipe here at the ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's something we talk about here, but I think he's got tremendous instincts for where the quarterback is.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
Miles ran really hard today. He had a hell of a game.
What a day for Sanders.
To the 5, in for the touchdown goes Miles Sanders. Breaking away is Sanders. 30, 35, 40, 45, midfield.
Sanders breaking tackles.
He played angry. He played with a purpose tonight.
And running with it and scoring. Miles Sanders, his second touchdown of the game.
What a sprint by Sanders.
Really a career day for Miles Sanders, and since Nick Sirianni took over as Eagles coach, the Eagles are the best rushing team in the NFL. How about that offensive line? And they were even missing a few guys.
Yeah, and it really starts with Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce. We don't say enough about these guys because they're so consistent. Each and every week, they're playing some of their best football. And let me give you a perfect example of these guys and what they're able to do up front. If you watch this play, Seumalo does a nice job in pinning the tackle, but watch on the outside. Jason Kelce pulls to the outside. Lane Johnson gets a kick out on the end, and look at the alley that they create. Just an outstanding job of winning up front. And the backside, they're so concerned about the quarterback run that they're not even in the play. They're a step behind. And then watch this. 170-pound little wide receiver, Devontae Smith. He's not knocking anybody over, but he gets in the way and helps to create that alley for Miles Sanders to get into the end zone.
Skinny Batman?
Skinny Batman getting in on the action as a blocker.
And the Eagles may have the best offensive line in football, but they also may have the best depth in football because they had a couple guys come in. How about that Cardinals defense that the O-line is going to face? What are we going to see? Here's Greg Cosell with Enemy Intel, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
We are now 4 games into the NFL season, and teams start to define themselves. And when you look at the Arizona Cardinals defense, a couple of things really stand out. One, they're a high percentage zone coverage defense. Relative to the NFL, they do not play a lot of man coverage. But the one thing they do, and this is the other point, is they blitz an awful lot. they're one of the highest percentage blitzing teams in the league through 4 weeks. And we saw an example of both a week ago against the Carolina Panthers. Pressure and zone coverage behind it. And this ended up being a sack by Zach Allen. But it's how they got to it that's really interesting. So let's take a look at the play and start from the wide view. So what you're going to see is a 5-man pressure front look, and you've got to protect against that. But notice 2 players in particular who are not in the front. Isaiah Simmons, who's off the ball almost over the slot to the field, and Byron Murphy, the corner, who's actually on the other side to the boundary. That should be a tell right away. They're going to be the blitzers. So what happens is this is actually going to be a 5-man pressure with Murphy and Simmons coming, 2 dropping out. You get a one-on-one with Zach Allen on the center, and he makes the sack. Now let's take a look at this from the end zone where you're really going to see the 5-man pressure look. Anytime you get this kind of look, the offense has to protect one-on-one. That's the point of the 5-man front. So what you end up getting is 2 dropping out, Collins and Gardeck, and you get Allen one-on-one against the center, and he wins and makes the sack. This is really difficult for a quarterback because he doesn't know exactly who's coming, who's not coming. He doesn't know where his hot is. He doesn't know where to throw the ball, and Mayfield was clearly a little discombobulated as he got back into the pocket. This is the kind of thing the Eagles can expect. They will get a lot of pressure from the Cardinals, particularly on 3rd down. This was a 3rd and 5. On 3rd down, the Cards increase their pressure percentage, and they're going to get a lot of different disguised zone coverage looks. So this is a challenge not only for the offensive line, but for Jalen Hurts as he's dropping into the pocket.
All right, you saw Greg demonstrate how much the Cardinals are going to come after you and blitz. So what does that mean for the Eagles offense this week?
I just think that the Eagles offense, they're ready for this type of thing. They've seen this before. You know, they've got the quick game. He knows where to go. When there's too many people coming from one side, he knows the hot routes. But I think the most important thing, if they're running that front that Greg just showed, the Eagles will run the football in those situations. If you get them in a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, they have no problem with running the football because this run scheme is designed so well that they can take advantage of that.
And because of that, they have the confidence to run the ball in the 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 situations where a lot of teams would throw the ball. The Eagles are already thinking of the next play ahead if they don't have any problem with going for it on 4th down. So when you see them run the football when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, as long as they pick up positive yardage and get it to 4th and 3, 4th and 2, it's more likely than not, depending on where we are on the field, they're going to go for it on 4th down, and they're one of the best teams in the league at converting 4th downs.
It is 2nd down and 7. Lawrence takes the snap. He's back. He is firing, and it is intercepted! Eagles pick it off. Coming up with the interception, James Bradbury.
I try to make sure I tell him once every other week how happy I am that he's here, and I know I definitely said that to him yesterday.
Hey, what a big start for James Bradbury in his Eagles career. And this Eagles defense, nobody has more takeaways and sacks in the NFL, but you were keeping your eye on one big matchup with Fletcher Cox in this game.
Yeah, his old buddy Brandon Scherf from his days down in Washington in this NFC East division. These two used to go at it all the time, twice a year. And Fletcher is very familiar going up against Brandon Scherf. You take a look at Fletcher right here. This is a great job of Fletcher showing speed to power rush against Brandon Scherf. Great job of getting off the ball at the snap of the ball. And then when Scherf starts to retreat, he's able to get his hands inside the pads and then pushing back to the quarterback of Trevor Lawrence, getting a big hit on Lawrence, also allowing Josiah Scott to get in here and get a pass break up there. Fletcher Cox, I feel like, has been re-energized, he's rejuvenated, and he's playing some of his best football this year. Great talent around him, but that old dog can still hunt. It's great to see Fletcher playing the way he used to play.
And this Eagles defense is going to be facing a Cardinals offense. They're trying to get the ball to one of their playmakers. Only 2 other players in the NFL have been targeted more. Who is this? Greg Cosell is going to show us in Enemy Intel, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
Through 4 games, the Cards offense, particularly the passing game, has not really hit its full stride. But what's really stood out in the last 2 weeks is the way they've gotten the ball to Hollywood Marquise Brown. 28 targets in the last 2 games with 20 receptions. That's an awful lot. So he is the player that the Eagles must take care of, because right now the passing game runs through him. And they obviously get him the ball in multiple ways. And I want to show you an example last week against the Carolina Panthers. When Rondale Moore goes in motion here, the Cards get to a formation that a lot of teams run. The personnel package is 12, 2 tight ends. So they have both tight ends closed in the formation to the boundary side. And they have the 2 receivers, Moore and Marquise Brown, to the field, kind of in a stacked look. And what they're going to run here is something that's in every team's playbook. We call it cross-country dagger. So Moore is going to run a dig, and Brown is going to run kind of the deep over. Now, the important thing here is they want to get him on the safety with no help from the backside. So on the backside, they take one of the tight ends, Zach Ertz, and they run him vertically off the line of scrimmage to hold the corner down so the corner cannot react to Brown on the deep over. Kyler Murray hits him. It's a 21-yard gain. Now, these kinds of structured pass plays that are 20-plus plays have actually been few and far between for the Cards this season. But there's one thing you have to remember when you play Kyler Murray. At any point in the game, he can make a special second reaction play that changes the game. And there's no question that Jonathan Gannon and the defensive staff will be coaching up the Eagles defense to make sure that Murray does not make those kinds of plays.
All right, so yeah, Kyler Murray can be like a joystick with his legs. He can be the X factor. In his only game against the Eagles 2 years ago, he had over 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. So what do the Eagles have to watch out for with that X factor?
Well, the ability to rush responsibly, right? Rush with a purpose. You got to have a plan to contain him, but at the same time, you can't just mush rush and not get after him because you put the back end of your defense in a difficult position. These guys can't cover forever, so you're going to have to get after him. What you want to do is make sure you get to that upfield shoulder and bring as many guys as you can, because the one thing about Kyler Murray, he doesn't give up on the play until he has to. So you're going to have to make sure you get after him, but at the same time, be smart about it.
And what Ike's talking about, when you rush him, you got to stay at the same level. You can't have one guy upfield and then leaving a big gap for him to escape in the middle. You got to go on the same level and force him to go to the outside. Make him run the loop if he's going to get away from you. And then you have a better chance of the guys at the second level getting to him, making a stop. He annoys me as a quarterback. He can run around, he can make plays, but for me, he just annoys me with his ability to make a play when there's nothing there.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. And the Eagles are going on the road again. They had a couple slow starts on the road offensively, but the Cardinals are the only team in the NFL that hasn't scored in the first quarter. So the Eagles came back from adversity against the Jaguars. Who impressed you the most who had to come in for an injured player?
I would have to say it was Jack Driscoll. You know, Jordan Mailata goes down the left tackle, and Jack Driscoll, for the most part, has played the right side. But he comes in, maybe had a couple of bleeps early, but he came on to play excellent football. And I think just moving from the right to the left, when you don't play that very much, it's a tough thing to do. But Jack Driscoll played really well in that game.
I love what we saw out of Trey Sermon. They picked him up this summer off the waivers. 3rd round pick of the 49ers. He's just in his 2nd year. I think there's a lot of potential there in Trey Sermon. Got his first action in inclement weather. Didn't put the ball on the ground. I think this kid, as the season goes along, we're going to see a little more of him. Big back, used to playing in between the tackles. Can't wait to see a little more of Trey Sermon.
All right, the Eagles are finally looking for a win in Arizona. I think Ike was on the team the last time they won out there. They've lost their last 5 trips out there. But get this, the Cardinals have lost their last 7 games at home. Something has to give. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Enjoy the game, everybody. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.